I remember how it all began on that crazy autumn day when I, Tyler, first stepped onto the university court. I was the guy everyone called a hothead. My name already echoed through the college gyms thanks to my passion for basketball and a personality that could ignite a fire in any crowd. Surrounded by roaring fans, the noise of the stands, and endless practices, I was always chasing victory, both on and off the court. It was during the time I was trying out for the college national team that I met her, Ashley. We met at one of those lively college parties where music, bright lights, and carefree fun painted endless possibilities. I remember how her smile cut through the darkness of the room like a beacon of hope amidst the chaos of youthful energy. Ashley was the very picture of a champion, graceful, vivacious, and self-assured, as if fate itself had sprinkled a little magic into my life. She wasn't just beautiful, she was smart too, and her energy shone through every movement as she cheered on the team during basketball games. From the moment our eyes met, there was an inexplicable, powerful attraction that promised to change the course of my once free and slightly rebellious existence. During those days, emotions ran high. Intense practices, hard-fought victories, endless competitions, and the radiance of a romance that felt like a gift from destiny. I was used to accepting every challenge, the nerve-wracking matches, the wild nights of celebration, and the audacious actions that sometimes drew disapproval from the older guys. There was a fire in my soul, yet I had no idea that the biggest changes in my life would not occur solely on the court. Even as I basked in success, a new, unexpected element began to shroud my consciousness. Ashley, with her outward innocence and inner strength, made me dream of a future where together we could conquer any hardship. Every gesture she made, every glance, evolved into more than just physical attraction. They became symbols of something greater, a promise of loyalty, support, and love. We spent endless evenings together, from carefree walks along the lit campus streets to intimate conversations in a small cafe near the dorms. I truly believed that together we could conquer the world, and with Ashley by my side, my self-confidence soared day by day. Yet deep down, there was an odd premonition stirring within me, as if subtle cracks were already forming in the system that I so loved. At that moment, I could never have imagined how deep that fissure would eventually become. At basketball games, while my hands reached out for victory, my heart increasingly fluttered with thoughts of her. The sound of her voice, her gentle laughter, and the sincere support she offered during both triumph and defeat. Sometimes, I would catch myself listening to the whisper of the wind as if it were sharing promises of a future where her image would accompany each step I took. With Ashley, it felt like the whole world would bow before our love, and every obstacle would vanish if only we stayed together. I remember one day after an especially intense match, when the adrenaline still surged through my veins, we decided to spend the night under the stars, sitting on the roof of an old hangar. It was then that I first looked deeply into her eyes and saw an entire world, a world free of secrets, where every moment was filled with pure, unadulterated love. But even in those moments of pure bliss, when everything seemed to be going perfectly, a shadow of doubt silently crept into the corners of my mind, hinting at changes that I was yet to fully comprehend. A few weeks passed after that night, and our connection grew stronger, each of us convinced that together we could overcome any obstacle. However, as our trust deepened, I began to notice small discrepancies in Ashley's behavior. At first, they were tiny details, forgotten goodbyes, shy glances as she turned away at the most inopportune moments. In the busy halls of the university, amid the bustling chatter and laughter of friends, I increasingly caught myself thinking that she was hiding something. We spent our evenings dissecting the games, planning our future, and although everything outwardly appeared perfect, an inexplicable anxiety began to stir inside me. A fear I couldn't explain to either of us. In the world of a basketball player, intuition sometimes warned of a misstep, a crucial pass gone wrong, a missed shot, an unexpected turnover, and such moments made my heart beat in sync with the pressure of the game. Yet something entirely different began to repeat in my relationship with Ashley. As though invisible forces were slowly eroding the foundation of our bond. I remember one evening after another big win on the court, when everyone else was out celebrating and laughing, I noticed her staring into her phone with a look of unease. Her face grew distant and her gaze blank, as if she were haunted by thoughts far removed from both of us. At that moment, I dismissed it as fatigue and nerves before the next match, but inside, seeds of doubt had already been sown. Life in my world was vivid and often chaotic, like a daring half-court shot taken with everything on the line, where the outcome was always uncertain. Ashley was my reflection, my ideal of tenderness and strength, and I firmly believed that her love would always buoy me during the toughest moments. We planned vacations together, dreamed of a grand future where our names would not only resonate in sports arenas, but also in the hearts of those we cared about. Yet gradually, moments started to emerge when she would vanish without explanation, her answers became evasive, and the time she spent away from me grew alarmingly frequent. Every time she left, I felt as if tiny fractures were shattering the sturdy world we were trying so desperately to build. One evening, during a walk across campus when everyone else seemed absorbed in their own affairs, I noticed her meeting someone in the distance, a man I had never heard of before. This stranger exuded confidence, and the chemistry between him and Ashley was palpable, something that could hardly be dismissed as mere coincidence. In that moment, it felt as if someone had quietly pierced my heart, leaving behind an inexplicable pain and a foreboding sense of impending doom. I tried to hide my turmoil. I was still the defiant Tyler, the one everyone expected to be victorious. But deep inside, everything was changing. Time and again, fragments of past conversations and hushed words she once uttered began replaying in my mind. I desperately tried to silence those thoughts, convincing myself that there was no reason for suspicion, that my love and loyalty would have been enough to conquer any trial. Yet the more I attempted to drown out that inner voice, the louder it grew, like a flock of restless birds refusing to leave me in peace. In those nights when the stars shimmered over the campus, I felt utterly alone, as if I were standing at the edge of a precipice, on the verge of making a fateful decision that would change everything. Deep within, my instincts whispered that something new was beginning in our story. Something I wasn't ready to face, but that was destined to change me forever. On that fateful evening, as the moonlight bathed the deserted pathways of the campus, I lingered beneath a great oak tree, trying to collect my scattered thoughts. By the shores of a small lake where the water softly murmured ancient secrets, I allowed myself to wonder for the first time. Why, when everything seemed so perfect, did I suddenly feel so utterly alone? Every moment spent with her now felt dual. On one hand, it brought joy, and on the other, an insatiable ache of premonition. And as the cold wind brushed against my face, I realized that everything in my life was on the brink of change, and that the anticipation of betrayal was slowly strangling my heart, forcing me to confront the reality that even the strongest bonds can sometimes be nothing more than a cruel twist of fate. Hope seemed to fade with each passing day, and I could no longer deny the truth that had long been hidden deep within my soul. It soon became inevitable. The premonitions that had built up over the months exploded into a catastrophe, and I was forced to face the one thing I had feared most. One evening, as the sky turned a deep crimson in the hues of sunset, I accidentally overheard a conversation that forever altered my perception of our world. Amid the murmurs of voices and the echoes of unfamiliar words, I heard the name of my old teammate, Michael, who was discussing how Ashley had spent the evening with another man. The words were delivered with a cold detachment, shattering the illusion I had so meticulously nurtured over the years. From that moment on, every word Ashley spoke became an object of intense scrutiny and unbearable doubt. I couldn't help but think that if my beloved was capable of such betrayal, then perhaps my confidence had merely been a mask, concealing deep emotional wounds. I wandered the empty corridors of old lecture halls for hours, the sounds of my footsteps echoing, every reflection in the glass surfaces a harbinger of pain. I tried to brace myself against the spiraling thoughts, aware that the basketball arena I was so accustomed to would soon become not only a stage for athletic triumphs, but also a battleground for an internal war with myself. The first undeniable signs of her infidelity hit me like a rush of cold water, swift and without warning. Harsh words and the silent looks of friends slowly pieced together a grim mosaic that I couldn't reconcile into a coherent whole. I recalled the times when Ashley had avoided my gaze, when her texts were abruptly cut off mid-sentence, and when everything had seemed perfect, only to suddenly coalesce into a devastating image of betrayal, searing and painful. My heart pounded as I contemplated how someone could so carelessly disregard what we had built over the years. Perhaps I had been too arrogant, too absorbed in the illusion of my own infallibility to notice the subtle hints that fate was weaving into our shared story. I remember one rainy evening, when the persistent drumming of raindrops against the windows of my door made it impossible to ignore my mounting agony. I finally could no longer hold back. Summoning every ounce of courage, I made my way to her room. My heart was racing, my thoughts a chaotic whirlwind, betrayal or mistake, agony or misconception. But the answer waited behind that closed door. When I knocked, thousands of thoughts swirled in my head, each demanding that I know the truth, no matter how bitter it might be. Her response came quickly. A soft, almost inaudible voice from within, trembling with fear, as if the truth had finally burst forth from its long confinement. I can't recall her exact words, but the emotions with which she attempted to justify herself were cold and disjointed, like the reflection of a stranger's soul in a mirror. Everything I heard felt like a brutal blow, crashing over me like an icy storm in the midst of a harsh winter. In that moment, my eyes refused to accept the reality unfolding before me, and I felt something shatter within me. The carefully crafted illusion I had upheld for so long disintegrated into fragments, each reflecting the full force of pain and the bitter taste of betrayal. Every second after that confrontation felt like an eternity. I sat alone in my room, engulfed by a silence that screamed of unfulfilled dreams and an unhealed loneliness. Tormented thoughts invaded my mind again and again, leaving wounds so deep that no quick remedy could ever fully heal them. I struggled to mend the broken trust, the empty promises, and the shattered certainty that had once given me the strength to fight for victory. But with every echo of her words, I understood that I now had to confront the one person I had always avoided. The real me, for only by facing the truth within could I ever hope to heal the deep scars left by love's treachery. Left alone with my thoughts, I didn't immediately understand that betrayal was not merely a momentary sting of pain, but rather the beginning of a new era in my life. Slowly, with every resonating hum of the night, I realized that if I continued living in the chains of resentment, I would never find true happiness or become the man I had always dreamed of being. This pain, I came to understand, was like a mirror reflecting my own flaws, pride, self-centeredness, and a disconnection from those around me. I finally acknowledged that in my arrogance and overconfidence, I had often failed to see that my actions hurt not only the people around me, but myself as well. And so, faced with the bitter truth of betrayal, I had to make one irrefutable decision: to change, to completely rebuild my worldview. In those twilight moments, when hope was on the verge of dying, a strange serenity washed over me, as if time itself had slowed down to give me a chance to reassess everything that had happened. I began to reread old journal entries filled with dreams and goals, from when I believed I could change the world through sheer will and persistence. Those pages, once filled with the joy of youth, now beckoned me towards a new beginning, while the painful memories served as the catalyst for transformation. The harsh recollections of those who once claimed to know me better than I knew myself spurred me on to change. I started noticing people around me who had always been overlooked but were in desperate need of support and care. The fleeting smiles of strangers, the kind glances of passers-by stirred within me the desire to change my life and give it deeper meaning. Nature, music, and even simple conversations with friends reminded me that the world was full of light, if only one knew where to seek it. And so I decided that I needed to become a different person, a person who wouldn't destroy but would help others. Someone who could see pain where once I had seen only weakness. I started with small acts, first lending a hand to those in difficult situations on the street, then devoting time to young basketball players to ensure they wouldn't repeat my mistakes. Accepting full responsibility for my future, I listened more intently to the advice of my elders and sought to determine how I could be of service to others. Gradually, with each new day, I began to notice that not only was my outward appearance changing, but my inner world was too. In the mirror, I no longer saw the cocky hothead who once reveled in fleeting moments of glory and triumph. Instead, I saw a man willing to admit his mistakes and take responsibility for his actions. These changes didn't go unnoticed by those around me. Friends who had only known me as the brash athlete began to remark that I was growing more thoughtful and even compassionate. My outlook on life underwent a profound transformation. Instead of constant quarrels and conflicts, I sought constructive dialogue. Instead of chasing empty glory, I searched for meaning in every small detail. Every encounter, every conversation acquired a special significance, for I could no longer allow my old heedlessness to strike at my soul once again. And even though the road was strewn with painful memories and regret, I knew deep down that it was the only path leading to my healing. Having gathered the strength to change, I grew more confident in my decision with each passing day. I would no longer let pain and betrayal dictate the course of my life. With this clarity came the understanding that transformation does not happen without effort, and I was ready to invest every shred of energy I had to become better, not only for myself, but for those around me. In the first days after our breakup, I was often overwhelmed by a void that seemed to envelop me completely. Yet soon I began to perceive that within this emptiness was the seed of something new, a chance to alter my life forever. The pages of my journal, once marked with anguish and despair, slowly filled with new plans and ideas, a determination to help those who were in desperate need of support. I started participating in volunteer activities, organizing gatherings for underprivileged children, and even found time to visit nursing homes where I could spend a few moments in conversation with elderly people, each with their own memories of days gone by. In every such interaction, I saw reflections of my own pain as well as a hope for a better future. These moments, filled with genuine compassion and mutual support, taught me that no one deserves to feel isolated and forgotten, even in a world that sometimes seems cold and indifferent. I came to realize that each one of us holds the power to change our destiny, if only we can transform our inner pain into the strength that ignites hope in the hearts of others. Days turned into nights, and with each new sunrise, I witnessed the gradual dissipation of the dark clouds of the past, replaced by the clear blue sky of renewed hope. Even basketball, once the sole meaning of my life, took on new hues. On the court, I no longer sought to prove my toughness through hot-headed antics and reckless bravado. I concentrated instead on teamwork, mentoring the less experienced players. Basketball ceased to be an arena for individual triumphs and became a symbol of unity, strength of spirit, and mutual respect. It was on that very court that I came to understand that true victory lies not in defeating one's opponents at any cost, but in overcoming one's own fears, doubts, and shortcomings. The pain of betrayal slowly receded before the vision I was building with my own hands, a new self built on honesty, respect, and love for others. And although the memory of that dark evening sometimes still visited me in the quiet hours, it no longer filled me with despair. Instead, it stood as a reminder of how far I had come and the transformation I had achieved in my life. Every triumph on the basketball court, every new acquaintance, every smile from a stranger provided me with strength to move forward. Gradually, I came to understand that the old Tyler, the hot-headed rebel everyone had known, was gone. In his place had blossomed a man capable of love, forgiveness, and helping others despite all the pain he had once endured. Now, looking back on the years I have lived, I see how profoundly my life has changed. Every lost opportunity, every act of betrayal taught me invaluable lessons, and every victory served as a reward for the journey I had taken. I am no longer defined by past mistakes or a ceaseless desire to prove my toughness. I have come to understand that true strength lies in the ability to forgive and to start anew, carrying light even through the darkest moments. When I think back to Ashley, I realize that her departure was the turning point in my destiny. Her leaving opened the door to a version of myself I had longed to become. My relationships with friends, teammates, and even those who once seemed like strangers have taken on a whole new meaning. I have learned to listen and support, to help in small ways, and to offer a kind word to someone in need. Every conversation, every encounter now reminds me that life goes on, and each day offers us a chance to grow and to improve. Even in moments when circumstances forced me to recall those painful memories, I felt grateful for the opportunity to learn from my mistakes. They became the fuel that drove me to re-examine my priorities and align my actions with my new beliefs. Occasionally, echoes of my former rebellious spirit still tempted me. The lure of the life I once knew, where success was measured by reckless bursts of glory. But now I understood that true freedom isn't found in fulfilling selfish desires, but in the ability to overcome oneself and choose the path of goodness, even when that choice is painful. Each new dawn reminded me that the world never stands still, and with it came my own chance to change, to grow, and to bring light to those lost in darkness. In the end, it was this journey that led me to the inner harmony I now feel. A deep, personal transformation marked by the understanding that pain can ignite a magnificent change, provided we have the courage to let go of the past and open our hearts to transformation. Every challenge, every loss became part of my path toward maturity and wisdom. After all, nothing is more precious than the ability to forgive, first ourselves, then others, and to give birth to a new life where every morning is filled with light, hope, and faith in a better tomorrow. Today, with the mists of the past finally cleared, I live with the realization of a profound inner transformation. The betrayal that once seemed like the end became the pivotal moment in my life, a moment when I accepted responsibility for my actions and stopped seeking solace in empty battles for my ego. Every day I wake with gratitude for the new chance to become better, for the opportunity to help those at a crossroads, and for the chance to look in the mirror and see not a worn-out hothead, but a man who has found the strength to change. Doing good has become my creed, and I find joy in even the simplest acts. A kind word to a stranger, helping a friend in a difficult moment, or offering support when it's needed most. Each of these encounters, every small act of kindness, reminds me that I chose a path where the mistakes of the past become learning experiences, and pain transforms into the power to create. Step by step, I have become the person I always aspired to be. A person who spreads goodness, inspires others, and strives to leave behind even a bit of warmth and hope in a world that once felt dominated by coldness and despair. Sometimes, as I walk past the bustling corridors of the university, I remember those tumultuous days when every decision was made in haste. But now I choose awareness and patience, accepting each challenge as an opportunity to grow. That inner voice, once loud with aggression and defiance, now softly whispers, "You are strong because you have faced the truth and overcome it." That quiet reassurance has become my guiding star in a constantly changing world, where each new morning offers a fresh chance to leave the shadows behind and embrace the light of a new day. In the end, it was this path that led me to experience a deep harmony with myself and the world around me, a realization that pain can be the beginning of great transformation if we find the strength to let go of the past and open our hearts to change.